Hey friends, it's Jessi. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a very long overdue A to Z project pan update. If you're new to panning projects or new to my channel, I am doing the A to Z project pan this year. So essentially, I'm just going through the entire alphabet A through Z, picking a shade that starts with each letter and then trying to hit pan on them. It's pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy. We are a little over halfway at this point. Last time I updated this project was February of this year, so that has been about 6 months of no updates on this project. So I'm so sorry, but we do have a couple pans to share today. So let's go ahead and dive right in. As always, we will start with the shade that's been in the project the longest. So we're hopping into my ABH Riviera palette first. I've been working out of my Riviera for my letter I shade, and the shade I've been working on is this yellow shimmer right here, Inheritance. I have used Inheritance 9 times since my last update for a grand total of 19 uses in the project. We aren't seeing crazy progress on this. It does look loved. It does look like it has a dip. You can see the dip even without the zoomed in pictures here on the camera. But I do feel like I have quite a ways to go on this one. I've used this one primarily as a lid shade. I will do a nice warm neutral crease or a yellow crease, gold crease, and then just pop Inheritance right in the middle. I believe I've even combined it once with another shade you're going to see in this project today. But here's where we are looking like so far. It is hopefully gonna have pan in it soon. It is the oldest one in the project so far. I think it's been in for at least 2 updates, but hopefully we see some more progress by next update. Up next, we're going to talk about letter K, which comes from my Luminous and Sir John Lion King palette. This one came out, I believe, in like 2019, and the shade we've been working on for letter K is this shade right here, King. It is a nice warm tone brown. The packaging is super reflective on this one, but it's just a nice brown shade. I have the tiniest little baby pan at the very top of this. I don't even know if you're gonna be able to see without me putting the zoomed in pictures, but I used King 33 times since last update for a grand total of 63 uses to hit pan. I did think about using this an extra time this morning. I had completely forgotten about this because I feel like I hit pan on this shade and then I just stopped working on my A to Z project for a couple months. So I had completely forgotten what this shade was looking like. Had I known that this was how small the pan was, I probably would have continued to work on it a little bit more. But like I said, I totally squirrel brained and forgot. I use this primarily as a crease shade. I would put it down as my first crease shade and then usually deepen it up with some darker shades. I've used it a lot with the ABH Soft Glam. I used it with another shade you're going to see in the project, which I will talk about at the end. But I use this one pretty standard everyday looks. I did a lot of neutral looks since my last update. So a lot of the looks that I'm going to be sharing with you guys and talking about are more neutral. For letter M, we're going to be talking about the Colourpop Through My Eyes palette, and the shade I've been working on is Mesmer-Eyes, which is this really beautiful foiled bronze shade right at the top. This is one of the most intense Colourpop shimmers, if not the most intense Colourpop shimmer. I think it is just phenomenal. The formula in this palette in particular is just absolutely out of this world. I've used Mesmer-Eyes 3 times since my last update for a grand total of 7 uses in the project. 7 uses is not very much, but if you look at the progress photos, it is definitely looking way more loved than it was at the start of this project. 7 uses has really done a number for this guy. I've used this primarily as a lid shade. I would do nice, warm, bronzy, neutral looks. It is just so reflective and so pigmented. I would use this as a topper. I would put a neutral shimmer down on the lid and then top it with this bronze, because look how reflective that is, even just in my little mirror lights. It is just so blinding, so gorgeous. I've loved this shade. I do feel like I will be able to hit pan pretty quickly as it is very crumbly, and we do already have a significant dip in the shade. So I'm hoping by next update, I should be able to roll this one out of the project. Next, let's talk about the 2 shades I rolled in last update. The first one being from my Jeffree Star Banana palette. The shade I had rolled in is called Never Bitter, which is in this bottom row. It's just a really pretty, almost like duochrome. It's kind of like a yellowish gold with a green hint to it. A little bit of a reflective moment. I used Never Bitter 5 times since last update for a grand total of 5 uses in the project. It is just a really beautiful, soft shimmer shade. I've used this one as a lid shade. I've combined it with Inheritance. I feel like Never Bitter has that kind of gold reflex, so if I did Inheritance down first, I could top it with Never Bitter and have a really reflective gold eye look. Two of the uses I got on this one have been from this week alone. I've just been doing a lot of really neutral looks for my everyday makeup. I wanted to switch it up and do something more colorful today, but I have been wearing and rocking a lot of neutrals lately. It is not really my vibe right now, but I am doing it for the project, and that's what matters. Jeffree shadows are just extremely deep, so I don't even know how long it's going to take me to hit pan. I do have a small dip forming right in the center of that shade. You can kind of see in the camera how that's looking. It has just the smallest, lightest dip, and we've kind of gotten through the embossing on the top layer of the shadow, but I still have a long ways to go. And letter O, we're gonna talk about my Naked Heat palette from Urban Decay. The shade I rolled in last update is Ounce, which is this really light brow bone shade right on the end. And I used Ounce 60 times since last update for a grand total of 60 uses in the project. And as you can see, I did hit pan on that shade. It's right in the middle. The shade is super light, so the pan is reflecting, but kind of the middle and the top. 60 uses and a pan. I'm very proud of that. I use this primarily as a brow bone shade. Every single time I did my makeup, I would use this as a brow bone shade. Sometimes I did an inner corner moment, top it with something a little bit shimmerier. I kind of cheated that way, layering this with a more shimmery shade to create that impact that I wanted for an inner corner highlight. But for the most part, I just put it on a fluffy brush and used it as a brow bone highlight. Nothing crazy. And I think maybe a couple times I used it to set my eyeshadow primer. It's definitely been an easy one to work through, and it was definitely a give me shade when I rolled it in. I even said it was going to be an easy shade to hit pan on. But here we are with an additional pan in my collection. So with two letters rolling out, we are now adding in the letters P and Q. I'm looking at my little notes right here. I've already chosen the shades I want to work on. I've been thinking about them for a long time, and I do pencil in ideas as I think of them. So for letter P, I actually want to work out of this palette. This is the Dark Fantasy by Beauty Bay. It is the palette I used on my eyes today. I just went into some of those green tones and this silver at the bottom, Grime. Really pretty shade. But for letter P, I've decided to work on this top minty green shade, Plasma. This is just giving me spooky Halloween realness. It's kind of like slime or zombie green. It's really pretty. It's a really nice minty shade. I've been doing a lot of green looks as there are some green shades in my Pan Those Eyeshadows project currently, so I've just kind of been using them together. And as a whole, I've really been enjoying my two Beauty Bay palettes, so I really wanted to get some more use out of them. I have hit pan in my Retro Love palette, and they aren't incredibly hard to hit pan on, so I'm curious to see how many uses it would take me to hit pan on a more colorful shade. I'm excited to dive in on this one. I think this will be a fun palette to pull out, especially as the weather starts cooling down, we start getting into fall. I know we're only in August, but I'm a girl that starts Halloween right after 4th of July, so I'm already in spooky season. I'm excited to do some more spooky looks. And last but not least, for letter Q, we are hopping back into my Disney Masquerade and Colourpop palette. We used this one at the very start of this project. I had Jolly in the project for letter D, but today I'm rolling in letter Q, Quasimodo, which is this deep brown shade right at the bottom here. I almost chose a different shade for letter Q because I wanted to try and hit pan in different palettes as well, but I feel like Quasimodo is the shade that makes the most sense for me right now. I am working on a lot of neutral-ish tones in my different projects, and I feel like having a dark brown that I can work into any of those neutral looks will definitely help me get a lot of use out of Quasimodo. And this is a palette that I've thought about using as a Pan That palette several times and might use next year as my Pan That palette, so it doesn't hurt to get a little bit of a head start on that. I know I like the quality of this formula. I know how long it takes to hit pan. I've hit a couple pans in this one already, and I feel like it's a good, reliable shade. And I feel like it's just the perfect shade that I can get an immense amount of use out of over the next month. Here is what our August color story is looking like so far. It's almost making me think of the Dose of Colors what was that ice cream palette? It was like Dose of Color Scoops or something. I can't even remember, and I'm gonna remember as soon as I turn the camera off, but it just kind of reminds me of that Dose of Colors ice cream palette. It's just a nice, easy color story. I'm excited to see how I can play with these. I even think I might be able to combine the green and the brown, but I can definitely combine the brown with any of these lighter neutral shades. So that's very, very exciting. I hope you guys enjoyed this update, but if you're not already, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss any of my updates, and I will also link my makeup Instagram down below. I do post more frequently over there, just my everyday makeup looks. I usually do like a makeup of the day selfie, and I also post real-time panning updates, so if I hit a bonus pan or I'm making a lot of progress, you will be the first to know over there, so be sure you're following me over on Instagram. And with that, I will see you guys all in the next one. Bye, friends!